What? I can't make the music not bop. I can't make the music not bop. I don't know what y'all want me to do. I can't make the music not.
Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about the excellence that is known as Outer Banks. And not to give Netflix too much, but even a broken clock is right twice a day, and in this household we give credit where credit is due, and they did the damn thing with that show. But before we begin, just a few housekeeping tidbits. My Twitter is in the description if you care. My Medium link is in the description if you care. I will have a piece going up on the 23rd, which is this coming Monday, so if you're interested in any of that, you can go follow me on there if you want to. And also my Discord link is in the description below, so join there if you want to, and let us get on with the video. How did I start watching Outer Banks? This was a mistake, kind of, because so it came out last year 2020, or at least the first season came out last year 2020, and I guess that kind of missed me. I was preoccupied with other things during like the thick of the pandemic, because I'm not even sure. I think it came out maybe mid to early 2020, and I was preoccupied with other things, so I don't know if this went over my head. But season 2 came out a few days ago, because I'm filming this on the 19th. Season 2 came out probably like 2 weeks ago, and it was everywhere. It was all over social media, but I like to let things die down a bit before I watch them, so that way I can gauge, do I like this because of the hype surrounding it, or do I like this because I really like it? And that's the plan with Bridgerton, because I'm planning to watch Bridgerton, but that's a whole other story. But I watched this show, and on paper I didn't think that I would like it. It just came up on my Netflix recommended page, on my Netflix homepage. I didn't know what was going on. I just clicked the show and then I started watching. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised, because this is one of the best shows that I have seen in a long while, and I know that that's saying a lot, but we're gonna get into it. What is Outer Banks? What is this story? So I would say, for a general synopsis or broad overview, it's a mix between the have and have-nots, Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, and Scooby-Doo. And I know that that sounds like an amalgamation of things that wouldn't necessarily fit together, but it works. So the story follows 4 friends in the beginning, and the main character, John B., his dad goes missing. Some people think that he's dead. He doesn't think that his dad is dead, but his dad goes missing, and on the way they find clues, and they're looking for treasure, and chaos ensues. Like, every episode was 45 minutes long, and every episode I would get heart palpitations. I had to stop, I had to get up, I had to pace. It was phenomenal. I know a lot of people don't like it for various reasons, which we'll get into at the end, but today I just want to discuss the show in its totality. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start off with the characters. So I've grouped them into groups. We're going to start with the characters, and then we are going to go on to some of the things that I liked and didn't like about the show. But I forgot to add, so if you haven't seen the show yet, this is obviously going to be spoilers, but some of the things that you can expect include the found family trope, mystery, a little bit of thriller, a romance, multiple romances if you squint. But these are some of the things that I am going to be talking about today while discussing the show. The first subgroup of people that we are going to describe are the sheriff in this town, and how they can't do their jobs right, but we knew that. One thing that I do have to say is that the propaganda on this show wasn't as strong, because it just shows how incompetent the police force is, and sheriffs are, how they don't care, how they can be bought by people with copious amounts of money. But we're gonna start with Sheriff Peterkin. And this is just me personally, I did not like the imagery of a dark-skinned black woman playing a police officer. That is just me, especially since she was aiding and abetting Ward Cameron with all of his crimes, because he was killing people, she was letting him, she gave him the compass. I don't know how much money he gave her, and then he still watched her die like a dog on a tarmac. So there's that. But I did not like that imagery whatsoever, but that could just be personal to me. I hated every second of that. And then the next police officer that is of importance to this story is Shoop. Why are 16-year-olds doing your job? Why do 16-year-olds have to go down sewers, have to go down drains in order to find the murder weapon? Because you knew, the thing is, he knew that Ward Cameron was fucked up in the head. He just didn't want to do anything because he had bought his ass, and he didn't do anything until the last possible minute. They couldn't ignore all of the incriminating evidence against this man. That is when they did that. And you could say that they wanted to be sure, because he did say, oh, we need to make sure that this case is airtight because of the legal defense that Ward Cameron would be able to secure. But then again, the Camerons were broke. By the end of like the first and second season, the Camerons were broke, so I don't know what kind of legal defense that they would be able to secure in the first place. But nobody in the sheriff department was doing their job. You had 16 and 17-year-olds doing your job for you. Pope was out here wiretapping cars and surveilling vehicles. It was just a mess. The sheriff department is a complete mess, especially that woman who took money from Ward Cameron to get John B assassinated in prison. What are we doing? What is going on here? I just had to say that. Like, they're like, they're the less important side characters, but at the same time they frame the story somehow, because law enforcement is a big deal in this town, I guess. But we move. Those were the two officers that I wanted to talk about, though. Peterkin and Shoop. Next we get on to the rich people of the island. So the haves in the have and have nots. We are going to be talking about the rich folk. Let's start with Topper. Topper is weird. Topper is violent, and in that first episode where he was about to drown John B and JJ pulled that gun out on him and everybody was upset with JJ, I'm just like, why are we mad at JJ? John B, why are we mad at JJ? Because had JJ not done that, you would have been dead, because Topper would have killed you. I do believe Topper would have killed you, and he would have gotten away with it, because later in season 2 we find out that Topper's grandfather or his father, one of his relatives, is the judge, because the police had to take their search warrant to Topper's relatives. So what are we doing here? Had that not happened, you would have drowned, because people were literally they were watching it happen, and Topper started the fight. And then later on he gets weird and territorial when Sarah's like, I don't want to have sex with you, and then he gets upset with her. And then in the last season he proceeds to stalk her by having her phone tapped. Topper is weird. Topper is weird. And his weird obsession with the Pogues, he just doesn't like them because they're poor. And this show does indirectly bring up a lot of issues about wealth inequality, because after the hurricane hit in the first episode, the Pogues on the cut, they didn't have electricity for about a month after that. The electricity only came back on when they were trying to find Sarah and John B when they were on the boat for the last episode. They didn't have electricity for a month. The people on Figure 8, the rich people, they had electricity like within the next day. So there are subtle things like that came up. But Topper is just annoying. Topper's weird. We don't fuck with Topper in this household. Next character. Cameron Ward. I would say that he's going to hell, but I feel like the fiery pits would not be enough for him. I think that he would enjoy it. That man is manipulative. That man is toxic. That man is deranged. He presumably killed 4 people that we know of, and this was presuming that John B's dad was dead. We know that John B's dad is not dead, but he killed 4 people, including aiding and abetting Rafe, his disgusting son, we'll get on that man in a minute, aiding and abetting Rafe in the murder of Peterkin. He watched her bleed out. He watched her struggle for air. That man is a sociopath and he needs to be dealt with. He is like a cockroach that keeps coming back, because when he was blown to smithereens, I said, okay, the Pogues have finally won. We have a win here, because I considered that man being blown up as a win, and the Pogues have won. But then a couple of episodes later, this man is still alive, living his life, about to be on an island off of Guadeloupe, and it was just giving, when will you die? When will you die? I want the world to be rid of you. Everything that has gone wrong in John B's life coincides with an action that Cameron Ward has done. He's lying to police officers. He's buying off police officers. Let's start there. He's doing that. He's pinning a murder on a 16-year-old child who was vulnerable, who came to him when his father is dead. You offer this child a home, somewhere to stay, and then you try to kill him and then say that he tried to kill you by lying to the police, because they're gonna believe you no matter what because you're rich, by lying to the police and saying that this 16-year-old kid, poor kid, tried to kill you because you know that they're going to believe you. Hell, the man is going to hell. The man is deranged. He's so manipulative. Sarah, the thing is, that actor was doing a good job. Ward Cameron's eyes scared me, because every time he would talk to Sarah, they would zoom in on his face and his expression. It was just one of, he believes the lies that he's saying, because at every instance when he would try to talk to Sarah and he would try to say, oh, she's not gonna sell her out, and I'm just like, do you know your daughter? Do you know what you're talking about? But he would keep trying to say that she's not gonna sell them out, she's not gonna sell them out, she's not gonna sell them out, and he believed it up until the moment that he didn't anymore. That's why he tried to kill her. He tried to kill his own daughter, because that's when he could see, like, because she locked him in a room and like tried to get away from him, rightfully so, but that was when it sunk in that Sarah's not fooling with y'all like that anymore. And you could just see it in his eyes. That man was acting. He was acting. You could just see the deranged expression all over his face. But we move on. We move on to that man's evil spawn, okay? We move on to Rafe Cameron. I'm pretty sure that Rafe Cameron is a sociopath. His father is afraid of him, which is one of the reasons that I feel like Ward tried to protect him in the way that he did, because get Rafe on his off day and I'm afraid that he's gonna kill I think he'd kill Ward. It feels like he's doing a lot of these things for the approval of his father, but I feel like if Ward caught him on a bad day, he would kill Ward, because he tried to kill Sarah when he realized that Sarah wasn't on their side long before his dad did, long before his crazy deranged dad did. He realized that, and then he tried to kill her. But my thing is, you can see, and kudos to the actors though. I don't know who played Ward and Rafe, but I hated them, so you guys did an amazing job. This was your season, and Pope's season as well. But you could just see it in his face. You could see all of his emotions. You could see all of that. And at the end of the day, as much as I hate Rafe, please, side note, and I said this in my Euphoria video, please don't give this man a redemption arc in season 3. We don't need it. We need him to either like not be living anymore, or or keep being evil, or end up in jail. I don't know, one of them. But please do not give Rafe a redemption arc. We don't need it. I was going to say, as annoying as he is, as psychopathic as I think he is, this is all his daddy's fault. This is all his daddy's fault, because Barry, side note, when Barry sold out Rafe to the cops when they were on the march, on the lake, whatever they were on, and then Barry said, like, I really don't have a problem with you, but I'm not gonna forget when you and your dad punked me. And Barry jumped out the boat, and then you saw the cops just race to, my jaw dropped, because that was the last thing that I was expecting in that moment. But I think Sarah said it once, Barry is Ward's drug dealer as well, and Rose was saying it one time too. She said, we've noticed this behavior since he was 10 years old, and you kept putting it off, and you kept ignoring it. So Rafe is a direct product of his father, and I think that scares Ward, especially in the last episode when Rafe was saying, I'm going to be a man just like you, and I could just see it in Ward's eyes. He was scared because the man that Ward Cameron is, I'm afraid that he was afraid, not me. He was afraid that that is exactly what would happen to his son, and he would have nobody to blame but himself. Side note, I think Topper and Rafe are racist. I think in addition to hating poor people, I think that they're racist. Exhibit A, when they beat up Pope for no reason, I feel like that was extra violent, because don't get me wrong, like, they've been fighting the Pogues, John B, JJ, and all that. They've been fighting the Pogues since like episode 1, but that scene with Pope, it made me uncomfortable, especially when I think it was Rafe. And that was the first inkling that I had of Rafe. I said, oh, something is not right with this man, especially when he was going in to hit Pope with the golf club. I had to sit back and I said, you are you're a little bit racist. Not a little bit, that was just very, I don't know. But yeah, at one point Rafe's desire, or Rafe's solution to everything, was to try to kill everybody, because he was talking to Cameron and he was saying, you know, like, the only reason, the only way to stop all of this is if they're not here anymore, and we need to kill them, we need to do away with that. It was just a lot. It was just a lot. But I must say, like, Ward Cameron was trying to protect Rafe, but in the end I think he was just doing it to protect himself, because if Rafe went down, Ward was going right down with him. I don't think there's an altruistic bone in that man's body. I think he's selfish, and his son is a product of that. And in the next season, we're gonna see exactly what that means, because Rafe said he's going to take over. In the meantime, I don't think anybody, like, I don't even think I don't think Ward Cameron knows the implications of those words. But we move on, and I'm going to move on to, like, in between characters. So they're not exactly the rich people anymore, but they, towards the end of the last season, they were official Pogues. We're going to start with Cleo. Let me start off with positivity first. I love the fact that there's now a dark-skinned black girl in the cast. Amazing. I'm never gonna, that, like, I gave me life, and she's gorgeous. She's absolutely stunning, and I like the character of Cleo. I think she is an amazing addition to all of the other personalities that exist within the Pogue life, and I think she'll do some good things. But I just need to say, Miss Grant, that accent, it needs work. It is a terrible accent, and I'm sorry to do this, because I looked it up and it said that she was, because when I heard it, I wanted to laugh. I kid you not. Every time she opened her mouth, every time she spoke, I wanted to burst out laughing. And here's the thing. So I looked it up. It said that she's from the Caribbean, but she was born in the US, and I can't remember which parent is which, but one of her parents is Jamaican and the other is Haitian. How do I say this? But I also looked up in videos to hear her speak, and she doesn't have a Caribbean accent. She has a very an Americanized accent, or North American accent. Let me say this, and I think when it comes to the portrayal of the Caribbean in media, a lot of the accents are caricature-like. A lot of the accents, I don't think people put in the research that comes with it, because although the Caribbean is a region, yes, and we share a lot of characteristics with each other, such as food and certain cultural aspects. Just because of the region that we live in, we share a lot of the same food, like tropics where foods grow. We share a lot just because of the region. But I think that a lot of people forget that each individual island has their own unique thing and their own culture, and not everybody from the Caribbean sounds the same. It is completely different, and if you know, you can tell where different accents are from. So here's the thing, even for me when I was younger and I was living back home, my accent was non-existent, and it's only gotten, like, there's no trace that I grew up for 18 years. I lived 18 years in the Caribbean. There's no trace of it at all. There's a lot of reasons for that, reasons that we won't get into in this video. But if I were to speak to you how people speak back home, I would say, well, yo, I don't know why they let her go on TV looking like that in the first place anyways. So that is what I would sound like if I were to speak to you like the way that my mom speaks. My mom is from a different island than I am. I would sound like this. Somebody had to tell her that accent that she was doing there. Do you see the nuances? Do you hear the different ways that I sound? I don't have an exaggerated accent. I don't know where she got that accent from, but it's not a Caribbean accent. I'll tell you that much. When she was in the car and she yelled, "They call me Cleo!"
That's what I thought. Don't go, you hear me? If you want him to believe that it's over, then you gotta stop accepting the booty calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. You understand?
Yeah. I had to pause and I proceeded to laugh. I had to laugh because there was nothing else that I could do, because they're in the Bahamas, yet her accent sounds like a watered down Jamaican accent, or what people think that a Jamaican accent sounds like. And then she's using slang and phrases that are Bayesian. So I don't know if and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it's just, it feels like if you're gonna come in and speak, then do your research, do a little bit of research. And I like the fact that they included the Caribbean aspect to it. I like the fact, I'm not too sure if it was shot in the Bahamas, I don't know. But if you're gonna do it, then come correct. And then you have people who are on TikTok making fun of her accent and making fun of the way that people from the Caribbean speak, and all of these different things, and it's nasty all around. And not to, like, I like her, the actress, as I said before. I like her, like the fact that there is dark-skinned girls representation, because with Netflix, for the longest time, it seemed like Netflix was doing a paper bag test with all of the girls before they came on these shows. And I like that. But if we're going to represent Caribbean culture, if we're going to, even the slang, you couldn't learn some slang terms, like, it was just a lot. It was a lot. But for me, it was just the accent. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was caricature-y, and I didn't like it, and it killed the momentum for me every time she would come on the screen, because I know, okay, she's gonna speak in this accent, she's gonna try to put it, and she would go in and out of the accent sometimes. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. But we move. Hopefully, listen, if we get a speech coach, if we get an accent coach for next season, Cleo can kill it. Cleo can kill it. Next character, Sarah Cameron. New Pogue. I like Sarah. It's just some of the things that Sarah does leaves me confused. But at the end of the day, I can justify it by her being 16, 17 and not knowing any better. Because after they came back from the Bahamas and she reunited with the Pogues and all of them, and she went to speak to her father, and were you confused when your father called the police? Isn't that the first thing that should have came to your mind? But I get it. She wanted to believe in the best in her dad. But at the same time, and another reason why I was so confused, when the boat blew up and her dad was torn to smithereens with it, and she was crying on the floor, I'll give that to her, because that was her father. Okay, the man is a terrible man, but okay. when she was on the floor crying, I was surprised as to why she thought that John B would give a rat's ass that her father has died, because she said, oh, I thought you would understand what it's like to lose a father. He understands what it's like to lose a father because it was your father that killed him at the time. Of course he understands. Why would he feel anything but pure hatred or pure satisfaction at seeing your dad blown to fucking pieces after what he's done? Your dad had him imprisoned. Your dad tried to get him assassinated in prison. Sarah, I'm confused. And then after that, and maybe it was the grief, after that you go hang out with Rafe, and then you see John B at a party talking to another girl, and you're confused and you're saying, oh, he didn't care about you, but at the same time not realizing and not having the self-awareness to know, hey, I'm also at this party with my ex, with Rafe, who's gonna start a fight for no fucking reason, because not Rafe, with what's his face, Topper. I get them confused sometimes, but I'm at this party with Topper, who's known to start fights for no reason. Why would, it's just the choices, Sarah Cameron. Some of the choices are weird to me. Your brother shot you. Some of the choices, Sarah Cameron, some of the choices are just weird. They're just weird. But other than that, I don't have too much to say on Sarah. Yeah, I think after her father tried to kill her is when she realized, oh, you meant to kill me. When he was actually choking her out, I think that's when the light bulb switch flicked in her mind, and she said, oh, like, oh, this is real. This is who you are as an individual. Now we get into the main 4 characters, I would say. The Pogues, the original 4, the original Pogue for Life crew. And we are going to start with my least favorite Kiara, Key. I wouldn't say she's, you know what, let me take that back. She's not my least favorite, but she is the most annoying out of the group. And I don't know if I thought, because in the beginning when I found out that she was like a rich member or a rich Pogue or whatever you want to call it, I thought that the story would go in a different direction. My bad, because I shouldn't, well, not my bad for assuming that, but I thought that she would be the rich friend to help her other friends out. I don't, and I can't put too much of that on her, because once again, she is 16 and she has her parents, and her parents do care about appearances and their rich life and how they interact with their rich friends. But that's what I thought it was gonna go. So then when I realized she was just a rich person without no power, I was like, okay, well, this is what we have now. I don't think that Key is rich like everybody else, because nobody else, no other kid works. Or that could just be different principles, because her dad's a Pogue or used to be a Pogue, but nobody else works, and she's always at their diner because they own a diner. She's always there helping out and working, and I think in one of the episodes her dad was saying, oh, like, business is slow. So I think that's where her kind of conflict comes from, and the fact that her dad is a Pogue and her mom is a Pogue, in one of the episodes she realized that wasn't a conflict with them. I think it's more a conflict for her and what she thinks that their relationship is like, or how she wants to be perceived, and how she's trying to like find her way in the middle between rich and poor. Give me a break. But still, she was very annoying. She was playing up and down with Pope's feelings, and not to mention, if she had waited 5 minutes, I don't know why your impulse is so strong to do stupid things. If she had waited 5 minutes when Pope and JJ, when they were recording Ward Cameron killing Gavin, they had it on tape. If she had waited 5 minutes, if she hadn't screamed murderer in front of everybody, John B would have never went to jail. John B's name would have been cleared from the first couple of episodes. Why couldn't you wait to do that? Control your impulses. But then I remember that they're 16, but then again, Pope and JJ are 16, and although JJ is impulsive, he was not going to do that because he knew the stakes of the situation. They were trying to stay hidden. Why would you scream? I had secondhand embarrassment. I was embarrassed for her, because why why would you do that? And then she was playing with Pope's feelings. Like she was just up and down playing with his feelings. I do think that season 3 is going to have a focus on Kiara because season 1 was more about season 1 was more about John B and like finding the goal and his dad's research, and then in season 2 we got Pope and his backstory with his family. And I think it's going to follow Key and her family, because towards the end of the last episodes they were putting up missing posters for her mom and dad. So I think that relationship is gonna get mended somewhat, kind of, or I think it's going to be addressed in season 3. And I actually want to see that, because I think she will become less annoying if her relationship with her parents is just mended a little bit. Next character, John B. John B is my least favorite out of the 4 Pogues, and it's because I think that his story, not even his story, I think his character is the least interesting to me. I think everybody else's story surrounding him is way more interesting, and everybody's character development around him is way more interesting than he is. That's just my personal opinion, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's the leader, how everybody will defer to him to get his recommendation or his advice as to what they should do, because it inherently makes you want to care about him. So you don't really realize that his story is kind of stagnant, or his character development is kind of stagnant a little bit. A lot of people say that there's no character development in this show. I beg to differ. I think there's a lot of character development, but that is a side note. But I'm not gonna say that he stayed a flat character throughout the entire series, because he obviously had a lot of situations that impacted him and impacted the decisions that he made. And towards the end, where he had the option to kill when he had the option to kill Ward, and then he looked at Sarah, and then he looked at Ward, and then he decided not to do it. The previous John B, when the John B that found out that Ward Cameron killed his father, the previous John B was not going to do that. So I think that he did grow, but his story is kind of the least interesting to me. And maybe with the revelation that his dad is not dead, maybe that'll add some pizzazz. I don't dislike him, but he's not one of my favorites, I would say. Next, we get on to the star of season 2, the star in his own right. Through multiple challenges and adversity, he will come out on top, because the last season, he lost everything. He lost it, but I have faith and I believe that at some point he will get it back. And I am talking about Pope, portrayed by Jonathan Davis. What a character, what a man. First of all, Jonathan Davis, that is a whole other conversation that we need to have. But Pope was just trying to do his best. Pope was trying to get his scholarship that he ran out on. But anyways, Pope was trying to get his scholarship. Pope was just trying to help his friends. Pope was trying to keep his head down to get his merit scholarship. And then he got pulled into all of this mess by John B, by Key, by JJ, by default. And because he's a good friend, he did what he could to help his friends. And season 2 was his season. And I know that there are a lot of feelings, or let me not say I know, I would assume, because I don't know, I would assume that there are a lot of feelings about having one of the only black characters on the show, having his storyline be related to a slave storyline, or his ancestors being related to slaves. But I understand that. I understand the hesitancy around that situation, but I do think that they did it well. I have to say that. And I also think that that is a reality of a lot of people. So like for me, I come from the islands. I barely knew my grandmother. So for me, like, when my mom is where it stops. My mom and my dad is kind of where it stops, and their siblings, my aunts and uncles. But besides my parents' generation, I can't really trace anything back. Like, my mom knew her mom, obviously, but I think I've met both of my grandmothers on like 5 times. The reality of being descendants from slaves it's a reality for a lot of people, for a lot of Black people living in America especially, and in the Caribbean. And I think that we need stories that show that, and I do think that they did a good job. It was apparent, the violence that these white people played on Pope and his family and Denmark Tanny, and it knew when to be explicit and it knew when to be subtle. So when those two white people, when Carla Limbri and her sidekick, when they took Pope to that cemetery where all of those slaves were buried, where all of those enslaved people were buried, and she told him the story of his ancestors in Denmark Tanny. At the time, Pope didn't even know that he was related to Denmark Tanny. But while she was telling him this story about her family enslaving people and killing them and treating them horribly, I just felt so uncomfortable. I was like, it was a surreal moment, because I'm like, do I realize the violence that is going on my screen right now? But it was so subtle. We can have a conversation about that subtlety and who that subtlety is for, because I'm pretty sure if a white person is watching this show, then they're not engaging with that scene in the same way that I'm engaging with it. So we can have that conversation about the subtlety. But also the scene where those white people dug up this man, this Black woman's grave, this woman, and they just left desecrated all over her final resting place, and they just left it there to the elements, to everything, and not even a glance back. That was violent in my eyes. That was just a whole other level of something that I was watching, and it was just it was a lot. It was a lot. So I think that they actually did a pretty good job of portraying the violence of white people and what white women do, and I enjoyed it. I did. I know some people have differing opinions on that specific plot point, and you're all they're all valid. Your concerns and critique are all valid. Like, why is this black character? Why does he have to have a slave storyline? But I enjoyed it. I don't think everything that includes a slave plot point or things that discuss in the past, I don't think that it's all trauma porn. And I think if you want to do it, this is one of the ways that you can do it, and I think that it was done very, very well. But besides that, Jonathan Davis was acting. He was acting. I loved his performance. It was just very, very believable. It was good. It was great. Pope all around is an amazing character. Now we get into my favorite. Oh, and also I do think that Pope had the biggest transformation from season 1. He had the most character development. Just based on everything that was going on, he had the most character development. My next favorite character, JJ, I believe he's portrayed by Rudy, and Rudy, you did that. Rudy ate and he left no crumbs on the plate left for anybody, because why is JJ excellent? Now, would I want to be friends with JJ in real life? No. Because it's like a question that just popped up in my head. Would I want to be friends with JJ in real life? I don't know. The answer is probably going to be no, but as a character, he's so entertaining. He's most of the comedic relief in this show because he's funny, and the comedic timing is it's excellent. JJ is a good addition to the group because you have Key's being annoying, Pope is just being very logical and very analytical. John B, I don't really know what John B's personality is supposed to be, but you have John B, and then you have JJ, who's just off the cuff, very spontaneous, is going to say whatever he wants to say, and the only person who actually had sense about the police, because Key just kept saying, and maybe this was her rich side coming out, Key just kept saying, oh, we need to call the police, we need to call the police, we need to call the police. And then JJ is just like, what are you talking about? My dad said you never trust the police. And then Key, with her annoying ass, is just like, oh, like, are you believing your father now? Key, a broken clock is right twice a day. His dad is a piece of shit, and his dad is going to burn in hell like the rest of the adults on this show. But do you not realize how the police have been treating you and your friends? is this not something that you realize? And JJ was walking around with that gun, but at the end of the day, based on how all of the rich people were treating them, had JJ not been on that beach, had he not pulled out that gun, I will keep saying it over and over and over and over again, had JJ not been on that beach and had he not pulled out that gun, I'm afraid that John B's story would have ended before it even got the chance to begin. So cut it. I love JJ. JJ is the best character. And once again, his father is going to burn in hell, because that is an evil man. And at the end of the day, it's just so sad because he still helped his father escape while his friends were literally drowning. But he helped his father, and you can see that I think that was his last thing to let go. I do think that it's going to be brought back up. If my theory proves correct, then season 1 John B, season 2 Pope, I think season 3 is going to be about Key, and then season 4 might be about JJ. His dad might come back. We might get something there. So that is with all of the characters, or at least all of the characters that made an impact, all of the characters that I care about, all of the characters that had somewhat of a storyline worth discussing. I think that this show was very well written. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I can't make the show not excellent. It's something that I can't do. And I see a lot of people's critique with it is that it's unbelievable. It's television, and there are certain things that I just have to suspend my disbelief for. It's like watching SpongeBob. There will never be a bikini bottom. I know that while watching the show, and that is just something that I have to accept while watching the show. I thought it was weird that Sarah was running around the place not like 24 hours after she had just got shot, but she was running. I thought it was very, very convenient that the group ends up in Charleston at the same time. That was very, very convenient. I still don't know how they got from the Bahamas to Charleston in that boat. I don't know how much fuel they had. I don't know that situation. That was very convenient as well, but that doesn't take away from the overall construction and the overall show. I don't know what to tell you, but it made for excellent television. To everyone asking, where are the parents and da. If you've never watched a teen drama, if you've never watched a show centered around children, then just say that, because for most shows, the parents are not there. At least this show tried to tell us why the parents weren't there, albeit some of it was very, very wonky. But then you had John B's dad. John B's dad was technically dead. JJ's dad, everybody knew that the man was a piece of shit. The only thing that I'll say is that they had child services around John B, because his dad died, but everybody at the police force knew that JJ's dad was abusing him. So what was going on there? But then again, you can, based on the show, based on the information that the show has given me, you can just write it off as like, they don't care about poor people. The police don't care about poor people, so they're not going to investigate that situation. Maybe, unless they have to. They probably just did it because everybody knew about John B's dad, and then they had to make that executive decision. But if they don't have to, then they're not going to. But parents in teen shows, duh, this is what parents do. And then there's this whole sect of people saying that, oh, the actors are old playing teenagers. Tell me something I don't know. Tell us all something that we don't know. It's been like this since the dawn of time. Please leave us alone. Now, although this show is quite unbelievable at times, and I will get heart palpitations in certain scenes, and I have to stop and then I have to start again, I think what makes it for me are the small moments. So I've been watching, or I've been trying to watch, Shadowhunters for a while now, and there's something off about that show. And every time I watch it, I'm just like, what is going on here? What is going on here? But while watching Outer Banks, I kind of realized what was going on, because I've been wanting to make a video about Shadowhunters if I ever finish the show. But I've been trying to figure out what's going on, and I think the problem with Shadowhunters and what what this show does very, very well, it's the small moments of reflection and introspection that we have that make it what it is. So we have all of these action-packed moments, unbelievable things happening, people shooting at people. We have all of this, but we also have kind kids just trying to be kids making impulsive decisions. As much as I said Key's annoying, Key's making impulsive decisions as a 16-17-year-old. One of my favorite scenes is when they find out that the royal merchant, the treasure on the royal merchant might be true. They all just sit down and they all talk about what they would do with $100 million each, and that is a very, very human moment. All of the times where something bad happens and then they kind of reconvene and regroup at John B's house, and then they talk about the situation, they have moments of introspection. You know what is going on in the minds of these characters. That is some of my favorite parts of this show. My next favorite part is the subtlety of it. So there's this scene after, I can't remember when exactly it was, but I think it's before Pope's interview, because he'd been gone from home for like, I think it was 3 days. And he comes home and his parents are upset, and then he looks up and he finds that his suit for his interview is already ironed and hung up. And if you know, then you know, and then you just see the scene of his face, and then if you know, then you know. It's those moments of just characters being characters and people be I loved it. And then you have JJ. You have JJ after getting the 25K or stealing the 25K from Barry. You have JJ who wanted to use it to pay off the restitution for the boat, and then he had this thing with his father, and then you see him stand up for himself for the first time, and he takes that money, and instead of paying off the restitution, he goes and buys a hot tub. And it's one of the first moments that we see him actually break down, and it's just in front of his friends who he considers his family, and it's just something about that. It's just something about that scene. And my last point as to why I really love this show, I believe that they're all friends. I believe that they're all friends. In a lot of shows, in a lot of teen shows, I look at it and I'm just like, you guys don't like each other. You would never be friends in real life. I don't believe this friendship group that you're trying to sell me. But although I think all of them are very, very different, and all of them have their flaws, and all of them have certain things that I don't like about them, and they also have amazing qualities, I think they take it for what it is, and I do think that they all care about each other on an individual and on a deep level. So that is all that I have to say for my, do I call this a review? For just talking about Outer Banks. I was just very, very pleasantly surprised. I'll say that. I wasn't expecting this when I went in, but by the time that I was done, I finished the entire series in about 2 days. I watched both seasons in 2 days. And it was just amazing. I really, really, really enjoyed the story. I like the acting. One of the reasons that makes this so believable is the actors are acting their asses off. I do think so. I think some actors are stronger than others, to be honest. Rafe and Pope, this was their season. Jonathan Davis, I don't know the actor's name that plays Rafe, and shame on me. But they were acting and they did the damn thing, and I'm excited for season 3. I'm going to watch season 3 when it comes out, and it's just, I know that it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing, and yeah, that is all that I have to say for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want to. To join the Discord server, there will be a link in the description, so join that if you want to as well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.